Good evening, everybody. This is the Wrestlemania Night 1 post show brought to you by the Aftermath Pro Wrestling Podcast. And I am not alone tonight. I am here joined by my good friend from down under in Florida, Greg. Happy to have you on. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Wayne.
Not only is this WrestleMania 41 weekend, Greg, but this is also our 5th year anniversary.
Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
As a podcast. Yes. We have a shout out from Chris Van Vliet coming very soon. Our annual shout out from him. So we can't wait to provide that. But what a night. What a weekend. And the way that WrestleMania ended with the buzzworthy events that took place, we are going to jump right in and talk about that first. But for those of you guys that are watching, feel free to give us a like. Please give us a subscribe and share this. We're going to talk about the main event first that took place. But what a weekend. It's been a very good show. Solid. Nothing too buzzworthy until the very end, obviously. But we got a match or two that met and slightly exceeded my expectation, which was good. Then we got some parts of the show that was kind of like a little bit on the low. But before we get into the main event, because we're going to talk about the main event first, so if those of you guys that are watching, stay with us for a minute, because I know you guys want to talk about that. Greg, what did you think about the overall show of WrestleMania Night 1 tonight?
I thought it was, pretty okay until the end. I thought the main event really delivered. And obviously, learning from the Attitude Era, the main event's the most important part of the show. So I think it finished really strong. But I'm excited for tomorrow night. I think at least what I'll say is tomorrow night has a chance to, I think, surpass Night 1.
Oh, I mean, it definitely has a chance. Do you think tomorrow night's main event has a chance to surpass tonight's main event?
I believe so, because I think Stone Cold being there, I have a feeling Stone Cold is going to show up in the main event. I have a feeling The Rock's going to show up again in the main event. So I think if you have The Rock, Stone Cold in that main event match, I think that can really over deliver from tonight, even though I think tonight's main event was, I would say on the top 10% of main events that I've seen from tonight's. So looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. I was thinking that maybe tomorrow night we'll probably see Ric Flair show up, but then I'm being told, and I haven't confirmed this myself, but I'm being told that Ric Flair is still under some kind of Legends contract of some sort with AEW, so that would basically prevent him from showing up. But again, that's just kind of hearsay, scuttlebutt. That is not confirmed. It would be fitting for Flair to show up and stop Cena from winning 17, so it'd be perfect storytelling. But anyway, we're going to jump right in. We are going to jump in talking the main event. We're going to come in hot right away, and then we'll talk about the other stuff right after that. But talking the main event, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Now, normally I do from the beginning of the card and talk about the main event last, but just because of tonight's current events, we got to talk about this first. So, Greg, I have notes on this here and there, but I'm going to let you kick it off about your thoughts and key moments of tonight's main event.
Yeah, so it went 32 minutes and 40 seconds. So really strong time for a main event match at a WrestleMania. I think the best spot had to be the spear into the pedigree. So I think
yes,
that was one of the...
That popped me.
Yes, and we're going to talk later about the LA Knight match as well, because there was a spot in that match that I thought was really great as well. But I think the spear into the pedigree, one of the top moves I've seen in a big match. So I think that tops it. I think it's one of those things where it was a little bit predictable, in that I really did think Heyman was going to go with Rollins going into it.
I think a lot of us did, so it wasn't like a shock. Like we kind of saw it coming, but as it was slowly unfolding, we were cheering for it to happen. When it happened, it happened.
Yeah, and it was the right thing for I think the match. I think for the storylines. I mean, Heyman's already been with Punk, he's already been with Reigns, and I think with Rollins, I think the crowd there. I think it was a quiet crowd mostly. but they were really into that finish, which tells me that that's what that crowd wanted as well. So I think just a lot of creative spots in the match. I think all three guys worked great, and I really think it was, I would say, like I said earlier, like one of the top 10% matches, main events of WrestleMania.
Oh, 100%. Like this was a really good main event. I think what I liked about it was there could have been the match could have ended within like the last 10 minutes. It could have ended like a number of times, false finishes, and we got a lot of that, which was very good, and that was popping the fans for sure. Um, so yeah, there were a couple of moments that I really liked. I mean, first off, we saw CM Punk coming out with Living Color, the band. No surprise, but that was very awesome to see as well, and kind of got a little charge out of the lead singer getting a selfie with CM Punk, and then you see Seth Rollins coming out with the flamethrower, which I thought was pretty cool. We see the match start. Seth and CM Punk go into the crowd, garbage cans, and we kind of found it funny how like the garbage cans were lit up in the crowd, just giving the wrestlers a cue to where to find the garbage cans to hit each other with. I thought that was pretty funny. But and then we also see Roman jumping the guardrail, onto Seth Rollins and CM Punk, which I thought was a pretty cool little spot there. How about the Doomsday device? The Doomsday device that CM Punk executed on Seth Rollins with Roman Reigns holding Seth Rollins in the air. I thought that was a nice one. And then, like you said, the spear turned into the pedigree, and then followed by the Seth Rollins curb stomp. That nearly gave Seth Rollins the win right there. I thought that was a great sequence of towards the end to get to the finish. And then we almost got the Shield spot, but then we see that Roman is conflicted of doing the power bomb with Punk with Seth onto Punk, and then Roman Reigns then he hulks up and he's like, all right, I'm gonna do it, and but then we see Roman turn on Seth, and then you see Roman give CM Punk one power bomb for the English table, and then giving Seth the power bomb into the Spanish announce table, and that table exploded. So very, very cool spots there. And Roman nearly won there with the spear. I thought that very well could have been to an end. But then we see the Paul Heyman low blow. The low blow heard around the world to CM Punk. So that was no surprise there. And then we start to see, Paul Heyman do the same thing to Roman Reigns, handing him the chair and then giving Roman Reigns the low blow when Roman Reigns was about to give Seth the chair shot. And then the storytelling with Seth Rollins extending his hand and wanting the chair in his hand, and then hitting Roman Reigns and Punk, and Seth Rollins getting the win with the curb stomp there. Would you compare this finish with WrestleMania 17?
It's a good comparison. One thing on the announce tables, these weren't the Netflix tables. These actually broke. So clearly,
I love the announce tables tonight. I felt bad. I'm like, no, don't break them. I want to take one home. They were cool tables.
They were smaller, but yeah, clearly the Netflix ones are meant to not be broken, and these were meant to be broken. I think similar to WrestleMania 17 on it. I think with WrestleMania 17, though, I've always thought that was bad for business for it. I think this
really.
Yeah, because I just felt like at WrestleMania 17, nobody really wanted to see Vince and Austin together, in my opinion. It was cool like that night, and then it was afterwards. It was like, is that really what we want to see? But in this, I think Heyman and Rollins could be great together. I have a question down the road. Could Becky Lynch join that little group? And I guess we'll talk later on, but is there a chance that, Rollins, Heyman join the group with Cena and Rock tomorrow is another theory that I have in mind, but I guess we'll wait and see tomorrow.
Yeah, so that was my other question. Yeah, so the thing with WrestleMania 17, similar type of close. And although it may, have been good or bad, whether it be good or bad for business of how WrestleMania 17 went down, but the shock factor was there. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody. And but the difference is tonight, even though tonight was so well done, I just think that with the IWC more accessible than it was 25 years ago. You didn't really have internet as accessible as you do now. You didn't have internet at the palm of your hands in 2001 like you do in 2025. So you didn't get those rumors or those plans and IWC talking amongst each other like you do now. So the theories weren't floating around back then, but now all these theories were floating around and kind of spoiled the element of surprise a little bit. But the smart fan that's been watching wrestling for 30 years also kind of saw this trajectory, like the hints, because we've seen this done before. Especially with Paul Heyman. How many times have we seen Paul Heyman turn on his Paul Heyman guys? He's turned on Brock. He's turned on Big Show. He turned on Punk. He's turned on Roman. Like, how many times is he gonna have a protege and then turn on him? So we've seen this story before, as far as the Paul Heyman element goes. So it wasn't really shocking, especially with the fans talking on the internet and giving away potential spoilers. It wasn't really shocking, although I thought it was pretty well done. So that, I guess, that is my thought about that. Now,
Yeah, and just one more thing,
yeah,
Rollins, I think it was good for him because he was the professional with Cody. I mean, he put Cody over how many times? He put Punk over, and I think it was a good time for him to get the win, given how much he did. And I do think his mic work in the build up for this was better than the other two as well. Which is saying something given the two that he was going up against. But I think Rollins was on top of his game, in the feud going into the WrestleMania. So hats off to him.
now let me ask you this: Do you? So let's get back to this because you brought it up. Do you think that we get the results, the aftermath, no pun intended, that happened tonight at the end of the main event? Do you think in any way that this will be tying in to the main event tomorrow night?
I think it's a possibility. I think you're going to see Austin tomorrow in the main event. I really do. Because I think you're going to see Austin and Rock his last WrestleMania, and I do think there is a chance that Rollins comes out and you see Rollins, Cena, Heyman, and Rock, together as a small possibility. I would say probably the on my probability scale, I think it's more of Austin coming in and Rock coming in. But I actually would like to see that where Rollins comes out and you have a group where you have Rollins and Cena over the next, few months. Obviously Rock's not going to be there all the time, to close out, to SummerSlam.
Do you think it's possible? And I know we're kind of getting off of the subject of night one, but at the same time, there's that possibility that what happened tonight can tie into tomorrow. Do you think there's a possibility that Cody wins, beats John Cena, but then The Rock comes out and says, "No, no, 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 this night is not over," and then Seth Rollins challenges Cody for the belt, and Seth walks away champion?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I think
Like WrestleMania 9 style.
yeah, and a plug there for if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend the WrestleMania 9 documentary, Becoming a
Sure.
Peacock. Definitely great documentary. You can see Nick Khan going from an usher at WrestleMania 9 to the CEO of the company. But yeah, I mean, I think that would be a interesting finish. But I think that tonight is going to play into tomorrow one way or the other. I think obviously Cena's last year. You got some big matches. He's got to have an opponent. If he wins, Cody has to have an opponent if he wins, or to your point, if if something happens, it's a swerve finish. But I think you're going to see tonight lead into tomorrow.
Those of you guys that are watching, please leave your comments. We want to know what you guys thought of tonight's WrestleMania. We're currently talking about Seth Rollins versus CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. What did you guys think of the match? Drop a comment. Let us know, and we will post your comment on there and talk about it. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Anyway, good main event. The storytelling was good all around. I really wish I was in the building for this. And a year ago, that was the plan. But the ticket prices were triple and quadruple the price out of the resale market, which is a total scam. And I noticed that the WrestleMania ticket prices dipped down in price the last couple days before Mania, and then I'm watching the trends like Wednesday, Thursday, and then still tickets available. Then Friday, I noticed that there were a lot of the tickets that became available for like $200-300 per night, all sold out. All sold out for one reason or another. And then I was tempted. I'm looking at the plane flights. I'm like, oh, maybe I should try to get on the plane and go. I mean, I could, maybe take Monday off if my manager's listening. Chrissy, I am sorry. But anyhow, that was an idea. Okay, maybe take Monday off or something like that. But anyway, but then the flights were like $800-900. Now all of a sudden the plane flight's more than the ticket of WrestleMania when it was WrestleMania ticket was more than the plane flight just weeks ago.
What I would love is a shout out to my friend Darren that was watching. I was watching at his house, pointed out, how did that Knicks fan in the first row, and I'm a Knicks fan, how did he afford that $25,000 ticket? Because I heard that the first row was $25,000. Some of those people in that first row, I do not know how they afforded that $25,000 for that first row.
You ever notice that it's the same first row people all the time, every single year? The girl in the green shirt that was sitting to the corner. Then you had the green
guy.
The green and the collar and elbow guy, and then the guy to the left was wearing the number 41, like the Raiders like WrestleMania jersey, and like seeing people getting first row all the time. So I have a couple of theories with that. I've heard that they're trust fund babies, and their parents had a lot of money that was passed down to them, and also possible connecting, like a connection with WWE, whether it be working for them or, just like a friendly relationship, that they know on the inside. But
yeah, I mean, there's a good documentary about Vladimir, who was a fan. He was pretty ripped, wearing a tank top at a lot of old WrestleManias.
Oh yeah,
glasses and stuff. So he went to a lot of the shows in
all the time.
First couple of rows. But back then, the tickets were only like $200 for the first couple of rows. I mean, $25,000 for the first row is just insane. And obviously, this WrestleMania is going to be the highest grossing WrestleMania in history. Most people watching it in history because of Netflix around the world. This
is also the highest grossing WrestleMania too, because the tickets were out of control in prices as far as the resale market goes as well.
Yeah, and for those people complaining, I mean, we're paying the tickets, so they're going to keep raising prices as long as people pay them.
Horrible, absolutely disgusting. Anyhow, so we had a very, very, very good main event there. There's definitely a lot that can be talked about from this match. I think the main event match was enough where it's going to be, pretty memorable for a long time to come. So those of you guys that are watching, please leave comments, and we want to know what you guys think about WrestleMania. But moving on, we'll swing back to anything that we might have missed, news and noteworthy as far as Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns goes. So WWE bought AAA.
That's a really interesting story. I mean, you got the When Worlds Collide pay-per-view coming here in June with AAA, NXT, and WWE main roster talent, which coming from LA years ago. I remember as a kid watching the original When Worlds Collide pay-per-view for AAA. seeing some of the Lucha Libre wrestling for the first time with Penta and Phoenix. I'm curious what the future of them holds, given that they own AAA now. So should be an interesting, revolution for WWE. I think with TKO owning UFC, WWE, obviously, AAA, starting in boxing. It seems like the future of combat sports is with definitely with TKO.
Yeah, I've never really been into AAA, but I do know that they're a main and they're a major wrestling federation down in Mexico. Um, a lot of big names have come from AAA over the years, filtered in through like ECW, WCW, into AEW, and their way to WWE. Like you see Penta, Phoenix, Rey Mysterio. I'm sure Guerrero been down there. Juventud, Guerrera, Psychosis, Chavo Guerrero. Many of those guys. Was that
Conan? I don't know if you mentioned him, but Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also had a Vikingo. I'm sure Vikingo has been in AAA. He showed up tonight on camera. News came out that was texted to me that Vikingo was done with AEW. He shows up tonight at Wrestlemania, which I thought was pretty interesting. That was a pretty surprise. I didn't think he was going to come up that quick.
Yeah, one thing on the AAA acquisition, it's interesting because sometimes people's ideas come full circle. And when Triple H was in charge of NXT, he had an idea for developing like NXTs around the world, in Mexico, in the United States, in Europe,
Japan,
UK. So I'm wondering if AAA is his opportunity to maybe deliver on that idea that he had, 5-6 years ago.
Absolutely. It remains to be seen. I'm honestly I'm hoping for a cruiserweight division.
That would be great. Yeah, the original cruiserweight division in WCW on Nitro has definitely revolutionized wrestling. I don't think WWE's ever delivered on it as much.
They tried, but it just didn't hit like it did with WCW.
Yeah, the Cruiserweight Classic was pretty cool. They had a lot of good guys that came in through the Cruiserweight Classic, but I think the Cruiserweight division after that, kind of fell through. But it's a good thought. Is that if you could but they have the stars with. I mean, Penta is like when that guy comes out, he like Phoenix is the better worker, but I do think that Penta is the bigger star when he comes out. So they have him. So if they want to utilize him in AAA, that's an opportunity for them.
Absolutely, I can honestly see with the potential draft that's probably coming next month. I can definitely foresee Penta and Rey Phoenix becoming a tag team for sure. Which would be great. Especially on the Raw side, Raw could use a boost in the tag team division for sure. Let's talk about it. Jey Uso challenging for the World Heavyweight Champion, and yes, we have a new World Heavyweight Champion in Jey Uso. This match started a little I wouldn't say flat. I don't want to say flat, but it took them a little bit to cook. But once they started cooking, they were cooking up something good. Really good match. I'll get more into the details and some notes that I have with that. But what did you think about as far as Jey Uso and Gunther? I thought it was a great way to start the show. The crowd was hot. The match after a while started really cooking. What did you think of the match?
Yeah, so 16 minutes and 23 seconds, like you said, started a little bit, flat, picked up as the match went on. Obviously, Gunther's been, a great champion in my opinion. Old school worker. Jey Uso is one of those guys that never would have been a world champion if he didn't get over on his own. Got over on his own. Heat Mania. Definitely the new way that they shoot the entrance helped him a lot too, as far as shooting him from the back as he's walking in. Really helps show how many people are participating in it. As far as the match goes, I think you said it started a little bit, I wouldn't say flat. I mean, that's the way that I think Gunther type matches like to start, a little bit slower. picked up. The finish for the match, as far as the quick tap out, it was a hit or miss to me. I mean, I like the old school heel that's a coward that taps out right away, and I think that's what they were going for. But in a choke or sleeper, it felt a little bit out of place with it. But I get what they were going for, is that quick tap out where the big bad heel gets put into the finishing move, and because at that point he's a coward, he taps out right away. And I guess because it's a choke slash sleeper, if he doesn't tap out right away, he's going to pass out. So that's the direction they were going in. But that's just a little bit of a nitpick at the end. Although I thought, obviously picked up, from the match, you started seeing some of the, chops, doing their effect on Jey Uso, like Jimmy coming out at the end, to celebrate. The brothers fought a year ago in probably a disappointing match from a year ago, and to see them both out there, that was probably the best part of the build. Was the angle where Gunther beat down Jimmy, licked his own blood. Really, I think gave some heat to this angle. But overall, I think it's a pretty good match. Sending Jimmy there. I think from my prediction is I would say that I think Drew McIntyre is probably going to be the one down the road that takes this title. I think it's a long way coming for McIntyre. He's been great. And I would think that sometime between now and SummerSlam, Drew McIntyre winds up with that title.
That would be pretty interesting. So the crowd was hot in the very beginning, and I loved the illusion that of Jay's entrance with him coming from the entrance. I'm sorry, from Jay coming from the crowd. I don't think that's been done since WrestleMania 29, since the Shield did that. But I thought that was pretty cool. The crowd was yeeting all over the place. All of Las Vegas was yeeting tonight. And then you had the yeet flags, the dancer flags on the main entrance. I thought it was a pretty nice little touch. Gunther dominated the first half of this match a little bit. Like the match wasn't really it took a little bit. It took about at least 7 or 8 minutes for this match to start really cooking. Then we see the momentum starting to switch to Jey Uso after he landed one of his first spears. And then there was a near fall scenario right around the 10-minute mark where the crowd went wild when Jay hit the spear, followed by a frog splash. That was around like the 10-11 minute mark of the match or so. So the crowd was really into that. And then, Gunther almost wins too when he hit Jay with the belt, nails Jay with the belt when the referee was distracted, followed by the splash, and Jey Uso kicked out there. So that was pretty cool. Then we see the Jey Uso power bomb, and then he so that kind of surprised me. Basically, he used Gunther's own move to beat Gunther, power bomb Gunther, and then honestly, the finish surprised me. Like, I thought maybe Jey Uso was going to win by pinfall, but the way that the match finished with submission, that really surprised me. That popped me. Even though we all knew that Jey Uso was going to win, basically win this match, but just the way that it finished, it popped me for sure. So I didn't expect that to be a submission. Good match. The last half match really cooked. I really enjoyed it. The crowd went wild. You see Jey Uso going into the crowd, and you see some crazy girl fan going nuts, and the security had to hold her back. I thought it was pretty funny. And the crowd was very much into it. And then when Jimmy Uso came into the ring, I honestly I felt the emotion of that. I felt the emotion. I thought that was a really, really good moment. I was thinking that maybe we were going to get a little brouhaha, maybe a little outside interference, maybe Kaiser or something, and then Jimmy comes out for the save. But we had a very, very clean match there. So Gunther still looks strong in defeat. Jey Uso looks very strong for winning this match clean. And let's see how long Jey Uso holds about. I'm not too sure if we get a long title reign. Maybe SummerSlam to Survivor Series. Maybe we'll have to see. being that there's two world champions, you have a lot of options here that you can do. Um, it's going to be very interesting. Somebody was giving me a theory recently that maybe Jey Uso can be the one to come out tomorrow night, uh, and maybe do one of two things. Maybe turn on Cody, and then Jey Uso goes heel. But then I told that person, like, if that happens, I need a really really good explanation for that. Um, but then there's other scenario where maybe Cody does win after all. Maybe there is no brouhaha with outside interference, and Cody beats Cena clean, and then Jey Uso comes out and congratulates Cody Rhodes, and that's how the night ends. Um, but anyhow, I think that's kind of like a long shot. I feel like tomorrow night we'll get more of like the Rock or Austin interference kind of thing. Maybe a tie-in with Seth Rollins, possibly. We'll have to see from there. But good championship match. It was announced 2 days ago that would open up WrestleMania. Although even if they didn't announce it, I was pretty confident that that's what they were going to open up with anyway, because they love opening up WrestleMania with championship matches. So, um, moving on, we have the New Day versus the War Raider. Not something I really want to spend a lot of time with. I do have some notes on it. Um, I think the crowd kind of came down just a little bit here. I don't know about you, but I was getting Demolition WrestleMania 6 entrance vibes out of the War Raiders tonight. How about you? And what did you think of the match?
I wasn't thinking that at the time, but one thing that I want to actually throw a shout out to my friend Darren, who I was watching the event with, is the New Day coming out with Giant Gonzalez inspired gears. I did not pick that up right away.
I didn't pick that up either.
Yeah, when he pointed that out, I was looking at the fur, and I'm like, I think you're right with the Giant Gonzalez gears. So if you go back and watch, they had the painted on muscle suit with
Yes.
full fur, like Giant Gonzalez back at WrestleMania 9. So I think, 9 minutes and 12 seconds. It always amazes me, the athleticism of the War Raiders. Obviously, what was interesting, I think once they gave away Kofi's WrestleMania record, and the New Day's WrestleMania record, all in general, I think you knew the New Day was going to win at that point in time. To say that they got two wins, and I forget how many losses. Kofi was like 2-12 or something like that at WrestleMania. So one being his world title win, but once you heard that their record was that, they're throwing it out there, but the War Raiders' athleticism, amazes you. When it comes to 300 pounds individuals being able to do what they do. So I would say okay match, probably nothing more than that, nothing less either. It wasn't like it stunk the place up. And obviously you said New Day on their heel turn, obviously wins the titles, and more to come.
Yeah, it was a decent show, but I think the crowd was kind of like calming down a little bit during the second match. Just a little bit. They calmed down for a little while. Nothing too crazy. They weren't as hot as they were during the first match. Obviously that was an open match. Every crowd's usually hot during the first match, but Kofi Kingston was the illegal man. He held Ivar's leg as Xavier Woods was getting the pinfall on Ivar, and New Day is your new tag team champions. I got to be honest with you, the Raw tag team division needs a little bit of a shot in the arm. I think SmackDown has been a little bit more emphasis on the tag team division. I feel like they're getting featured more often than Raw, focusing on their tag division over there. So I think that needs to improve a little bit on the Raw side. So I think New Day winning the belts could give a little shot in the arm, and then plus with the upcoming draft, switching a team or two. Raw's just got to put a little more emphasis on the tag division there as well. It really, I mean, I love the War Raiders and New Day. They deserve the WrestleMania spot, but also I felt that the Street Profits, the SmackDown division, the tag division should have had a WrestleMania spot. Um, and yeah, so we'll see where we go from there. We'll see. I kind of had a feeling with New Day's tweak of character, the storyline that was starting, and everything going on with them. I felt like the momentum was shifting their way to become tag team champs again. So we'll see how that goes for sure. Next up, we have Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Another one, not really I want to spend a whole lot of time on, but Jade Cargill, granted, Naomi was carrying this match, but Jade Cargill did what she had to do tonight. She held her own, nothing like too fancy or anything. She's not a 5-star wrestler by any means, but um, I didn't really see any botches. I think there was one moment where Naomi was on the ropes and she kind of like you see Jade Cargill waiting and waiting and waiting for Naomi to do the next move. So that was really the only spot that was a little rough for me, where Jade was looking a little green, and that was kind of a little Naomi's fault. She was taking forever, and Jade's just waiting for that next move. But there were some really good moves that Jade did. We'll talk a little more in depth. What did you think about that match?
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those.
Jade Cargill gets the win, by the way.
Yeah, and I didn't have a lot of expectations for this match. Obviously, you said that Jade Cargill hasn't been great on her own. She's been carrying a lot of matches, a little bit over 9 minutes. Gave it a little bit more time than I actually thought. I thought it was going to be a very quick match. I thought it was going to be under 5 minutes. So I gave it almost double the amount of time that I thought. And to your point, I mean, some of Jade's stuff, takes a while to get set up, so you can tell like what's coming. But to your point, she didn't really botch much. So I think it, over delivered on the expectations I had for the match going in. It's a tough match. It's not for anything, not for a number one contenders match, not for, a title at a WrestleMania. So given that circumstance, and like you said, the crowd, the match before, was a little bit down. So I thought, delivered fine. Interested to see where Cargill goes after this. But all in all, I think to your point, she didn't botch any spots. And she gets a win here. And interested to see where the storyline goes, since I do think Naomi's done a really good job, from her heel gimmick that she's had so far.
Absolutely. We saw Naomi come out with the new theme song, which is okay. Yeah, it fits. She doesn't need Glow anymore. She came out with Glow like it was like a week or two ago. I'm like, why is she coming out with Glow? This does not match her heel turn by any means. So thankfully they corrected that. Good move.
Got her Owen Hart starter kit with it.
It's exactly what I was telling my friends. She looked like a caution sign out there. It's caution themed outfit, but that's what we were mentioning. We were talking about like nation domination and the caution sign. Like it was getting ridiculous. But and then before Jade Cargill came, what did you think of the WrestleMania weather report?
That was interesting.
It was so hokey.
Yeah, it was pretty hokey, but at the end of the day, I mean, it was going to be storm coming. That's her gimmick. I thought they could have made it a little bit more realistic looking if they were going to do that. It was clearly hokey to your point, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and so this is one spot I liked with Jade Cargill. She caught Naomi midair and jackhammered Naomi. Like it looked like that was almost headed towards a botch, but it was a quick recover. Jade got her up and into the jackhammer. Really, really good move. Like the crowd popped on that. So good for those ladies. I'm glad they didn't mess that up. We saw the Jade powerbomb, and then she wins with her finisher. That I forget what they call her finisher, to be honest with you. I'm drawing a brain fart at the moment. But we see Jade win. I was kind of leaning more expecting Jade to win. So let's see where they go with Jade Cargill and Naomi from here. Where I don't know where they can go. But keep in mind the interaction that happened on SmackDown yesterday with Naomi just randomly interrupting Bianca Belair's conversation in the ring with Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley. So that's probably what's going to happen next. I don't know where Jade's going to fit in with that, but I would fully expect Naomi to possibly take out Bianca Belair tomorrow or interfere. Of course, Bianca the match. I am fully expecting that. Um, how Jade comes into play next, I guess we'll find out. LA Knight defending against Jacob Fatu. We have a new United States champion. This comes as no surprise. Jacob Fatu has been shining. He's even outside in Solo Sokoa. He's been the most popular and over with the crowd out of anyone in the bloodline. What'd you think of this match?
I thought that up until LA Knight hit the BFT, I thought the crowd was still relatively down from that main event. I don't think anything brought them up to the level of that main event. They had their moments, but once I think that LA Knight caught him with that BFT, I think that turned the crowd into that match. I think as far as this match went, about 10 minutes and 38 seconds. I have Fatu, obviously, your point, I agree with you. Solo was passable, in terms of he was a pretty decent in the ring, not amazing, pretty good on the mic. And then once Fatu showed up, I think that replaced him. So I think it's a good point that you made. I think, looking at, LA Knight going in there and Fatu with that BFT hit, one of the better moves of WrestleMania. From that moment on, I think the match, over delivered my expectations. Good finish with Fatu hitting, two of his moves, on LA Knight for the win. I think, heading in, Fatu is going to continue to, I think, move up the card over the next 6 months.
Oh, 100%. Jacob Fatu, I think is going to be a WrestleMania main eventer sometime within the WrestleMania 40s. Possibly sooner than later, actually. But yeah,
And
well,
LA Knight entrance, coming out with, the car entrance, which we saw again with the Rolls Royce later on for Charlotte. I thought it was a pretty cool entrance with the Maserati. Maserati rolls down, LA Knight comes out of the car. So I thought that was a pretty cool WrestleMania entrance for LA Knight. LA Knight's come a long way in terms of both, being over and his work. Like I said, I thought, after that BFT was hit, I thought the match was pretty good.
yeah. Both competitors got some really good high flying moves in, looking very strong. Fatu was getting major pops throughout this match. He was loved during this match, even though he's the heel in it. We saw that BFT when Fatu was doing that moonsault, so that was pretty cool. Then Fatu wins with 2 straight moonsaults, and pretty much that calls the match right there. Very, very good. It was what we expected. We expected Jacob Fatu to win. I'm surprised that we did not see Solo out there to run interference. I was expecting some kind of shenanigans, so to speak, but we did not get that. It's just really interesting. Like, after the year that Solo Sikoa had, that he has nothing to do for this WrestleMania except for walk Jacob Fatu to the top of the to the entrance and then wish him luck and say goodbye, and that's it.
That's a good point. I mean, I think he's probably low on the list for Orton's opponent tomorrow. Wouldn't be in my top on the list opponents, but he might be in the top 5 for who would be picked. So that's still a possibility, but I don't believe so.
And we got Ray Phoenix versus El Grande. This El Grande gimmick has been pretty fun to watch. I was kind of hoping for one thing here. Like, I was kind of hoping that maybe somebody similar build to Chad Gable would, fight, as El Grande, and then you see Chad Gable come out and interfere in the match and just throwing everybody off. I thought that would have been fantastic. But Anyway, a great match that we saw here between El Grande and Ray Phoenix. So basically, Rey Mysterio was the one that was supposed to be in this match. Ray suffered an injury. I don't know if it's a kayfabe injury or a legit injury, but I saw the highlight clip of it today. News came out. Ray Phoenix became the replacement. It's amazing how Ray Phoenix came in from AEW 2 weeks ago and he's on the main card of WrestleMania. Amazing. But he showed up and showed out. El Grande did an excellent job. Like watching these two go, unbelievable. Let me tell you something. Chad Gable can get any kind of gimmick or storyline or whatever's thrown at him. He can get anything over. Um, I think he's going to be another major star soon before he gets too old. But Greg, before I go more into the match, what did you think of it?
One thing about Chad Gable first is the guy's ripped out of his face. He's gotten definitely gotten into. I mean, he was always in shape, but since his gimmicks happened, he's gotten pretty ripped, even more. Hats off to El Grande, I should say, if it is Chad Gable under the mask. But I think the entrance for El Grande was pretty cool. As far as I thought that was well done. I think Ray Phoenix did a good job jumping in. 7 minutes and 56-second match. I'm pretty sure the Rey Mysterio injury is legit. Stinks, obviously, getting hurt the day before WrestleMania. I think it's legit because I don't think they would have had Ray Phoenix lose, this quick, on it. But Ray Phoenix came in, loaded mask gimmick continues, for El Grande. I do think it's going to lead to a mask versus mask match. I thought originally with Rey Mysterio, and I think that's where we're headed is mask versus mask. For where you get it. I think before it goes to mask versus mask, I do think there is going to be, I thought originally with Rey Mysterio where they do the old, rip the mask off, Rey Mysterio and causing Rey Mysterio to cover himself up for a roll up, and that sets up the mask versus mask. But now that you purchase AAA, I mean, the mask versus mask could be at that When Worlds Collide pay-per-view in LA. So I think that's probably quite a possibility. But to your point, I think that's something you could do down the line. I just don't know who they have in the roster that looks as ripped as Gable that could come out there because it is tough, to match that up. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty good match. I think given the Grande gimmicks got some legs to it, I think he had a win in this spot. Phoenix is a great worker. He's still new coming in. I don't think the loss hurts him too much.
No, not at all. And plus, El Grande cheated, and I think that was the original plan, regardless of who El Grande's opponent was tonight. I think the finish was planned the same way. I think Rey Mysterio was definitely taking this loss for sure. But this doesn't damage Ray Phoenix by any means. But we see El Grande come out with the mariachi band and like they had the old school colored screen, which I thought was pretty cool. WWE did a good job with that. So basically, we see El Grande slip metal through the holes of his eyes and to his head. And we see Ray Phoenix run the ropes and give a kick to El Grande, where El Grande put the medals, and it hurt Ray Phoenix's foot. And then we see El Grande put Ray Phoenix into the ankle lock. He didn't then tap there, but basically we knew the match was coming to a close. Grande wins by catching Ray Phoenix flying. And Grande hits Ray Phoenix flying with the headbutt, and that knocks out Ray Phoenix. And then you see El Grande get to the top rope, do the flying headbutt onto Ray Phoenix, knocking him out even further. And that's how we get El Grande defeating Ray Phoenix. So doesn't make Ray Phoenix look weak in any way. El Grande cheated. So I would say that was a proper finish for El Grande.
Did have interference at the beginning of the match, which Wade Barrett pointed out should have resulted in a disqualification. but it was pointed out that the match hadn't begun yet, which is why. But to your point earlier about debuting Vikindo,
Yeah.
that's where the impact happened. But good call by Wade Barrett calling his WrestleMania. So congratulations to Bad News Barrett calling his first WrestleMania. I thought the announcers did a great job all throughout the card tonight. But like to your point, you got to debut in, and there's something there too. Maybe that sets up something down the road. That could be when the worlds collide. Pay-per-view, you could see El Grande versus Vikindo. So we'll see.
Vikingo from AEW is a great athlete, and he's going to be fun to watch in the ring. If you guys enjoyed Penta and Phoenix, you guys are going to enjoy Vikingo. He came up very quick, as news just came out today, or yesterday rather, that Vikingo was not signed under contract by AEW, so WWE picked up on that very quick. Like I said, WWE's probably got plans. Obviously they bought AAA, but they probably have plans to do a cruiserweight division or some sort. Maybe they keep the AAA name alive and kind of have it run as its own separate thing, even though it's owned by WWE. So this way they can do crossovers. So that'd be pretty cool as well. Next up, this is the match that really built a lot of momentum over the last 3 weeks. So 3 weeks ago, or so, and that's Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany. I thought the early part of this build, the uprising, wasn't really all that great, but then it really, really took off based on the promos that they had the last couple of weeks. And 3 weeks ago, the promo that was basically heard around the world, Tiffany murdered and Chicago murdered Charlotte Flair in that promo. And especially when Tiffany made the 0-3 remark, like, lines were crossed on both ends, and Charlotte was just so cringe in that promo. It was bad. One of the most talked about promos of this year for sure. But that also, like, really, really, I felt ignited this feud and made me excited to. This is probably the one match I was more excited about than any other match on the card tonight. And Tiffany showed that she belonged. Tiffany holds the world, the WWE Women's Champion. She retains the belt tonight by beating Charlotte Flair. Before I go into the quick rundown of the match, Greg, what did you think of this match?
The Charlotte's comeback real quick was, but how come I've got Kaiser in my DM? It was kind of funny to that. Funny in that I don't think it was a great comeback to it.
Charlotte was just so horrible that night. She was off. Chicago ate her alive.
Yes, it did eat her alive. But I think tonight was a good match. Like to your point, Stratton showed she belonged. At main event level. 19 minutes and 10 seconds. The chip tooth from Stratton. I think the toughness looked to her. I think she's going to turn babyface now. At this point in time, I think she was kind of headed down that road.
She was kind of already babyface, but I think this was going to solidify it even more.
Yeah, solidify it. I think Charlotte's got to go obviously heel from it. It was a big challenge for her, Charlotte, too, because I really don't think she's had a good match and she's been back from her injury. So I think this is, her first, pretty decent match since she's come back from her injury. Obviously they said it, torn ACL, MCL is a very difficult injury to come back from, especially at the athleticism that they show. I think she delivered as well. But Tiffany, good win for her. I think you kind of knew when they already changed 2 titles earlier in the day, that this wasn't going to be, a title change at this point. Actually, they changed the world title. The New Day won, and Fatu beat LA Knight. So this would have been a 4th title change, actually. Yeah. Correcting myself there. So I think you kind of knew that they weren't going to change all 4 belts today with that. But at the end of the day, I think it was the right decision.
Absolutely. Let's just say the fans have spoken. They have spoken who they're clearly in support of with Tiffany. And honestly, let me tell you this. The WWE fans, they want to see something new It's the same old story over and over. Charlotte, like, cannot. She just doesn't know how to have a good program with somebody and not be in the title scene. She's always got to be in the title scene. She's always got to be sniffing around the title scene. She's force fed. She's been force fed to us for years, and not necessarily because of her name. I mean, that helps, but she's basically been force fed. She's very good at what she does, but at the same time, like, you can't force feed her to us um like they did. Like, they just inserted her into the Royal Rumble. Basically, she cut the line. She cut ahead of every hardworking woman that worked their butts off in 2024. I'm sure I can name better opponents, that kind of earned their to have that spot, but it got taken because Charlotte needed to come back, win the Rumble, take the Mania spot right away after being gone for nearly a year and a half, basically cutting the line. So that's force fed, and even David LaGreca was saying that Tiffany Stratton's force fed. I highly disagree with that. Charlotte's been force fed to us for years, highlighting WWE highlighting that she has 15 championships, most of which were changed every single week for like 8 weeks with Sasha Banks back in 2015-16. So I don't even count half of them, to be honest with you. For those of you guys that are watching via Instagram Live, just to let you guys know, the Instagram Live is going to time out in about no like 4 minutes tops. So if you want to continue watching, make sure you switch over to our YouTube channel, the Aftermath Pro Wrestling Podcast, and feel free to drop some comments, like, subscribe, and that'll help us out. And we want to hear what you guys thought of tonight's WrestleMania. I haven't seen any comments tonight, so let's get those comments rolling in before we go off the air, okay? Anyway, I loved how Tiffany versus Charlotte started in a brawl. I thought that was very cool. So we were off the races there. Tiffany nearly loses because Charlotte got her knees up during the Tiffany moonsault. Stratton kicked out of the natural selection there, which was a very good one by Charlotte. And then we end up seeing Tiffany win with the moonsault there, and then the chip tooth. That's going to be an image that's going to be talked about for a little while. Basically that kind of just highlights the grit that Tiffany Stratton has, and she showed that she belonged there tonight. And I know that Charlotte was making the calls in the ring, but Tiffany was at every spot that she needed to be. They both executed moves. And, I mean, as much as we hate to see Charlotte in that spot all the time, it's really freaking annoying. But Charlotte is one of the most reliable workers in the ring. Like, she makes a lot. She's made a lot of females look good. Too. As much as we hate to see Charlotte, I don't like seeing Charlotte in the main event and fighting for a title all the time. But she helped to make Tiffany look very good tonight. And Tiffany did what she needed to do. It wasn't all Charlotte. It takes two to tango. Tiffany Stratton had a really good outing, had some great moves, no botches. I didn't see much. I didn't see really anything sloppy. Also, I thought the ring entrance was pretty cool too. It kind of suited Tiffany Stratton with the whole like Barbie dollhouse kind of image on the entrance, and then they had the panels of the LED Tiffany's and then Tiffany in the middle, which I thought was pretty neat. So I was like genuinely most excited about this match more than anything because I just did not want to see Charlotte win. I mean, to me, Charlotte Flair is like the New York Yankees.
So, yeah, I agreed.
I did not want to see Charlotte win.
Yeah, I agree, and I think though I think she's obviously got to go for a heel turn, which is already underway. She's not going to work as a baby face right now, but she'll be a good heel. Also, hats off to Charlotte on her robe. That was a very impressive robe that she came out with to the ring. So, WrestleMania worthy robe.
Yes. I mean, listen, she's she's got it. There's no denying that. But at the same time, like people get behind a chase. People get behind a chase. And I think there's money in the chase too as well. But people want to see like it would have been more ideal for me just to see Charlotte just show up after the Rumble and just kind of work her way back. Like work her way back, get some matches under her belt, and maybe do something at Mania, and then slowly work her way back into the title match, to kind of earn her title shot. Not just come in at 27 and then automatically win the Rumble. I mean, come on. But anyway, I digress. For those of you guys that are watching, feel free to give us a like, subscribe, comment, share to help us out. But drop some comments. We'd like to hear what you guys thought of WrestleMania 41. We're gonna go off the air shortly, so we're hoping to get some comments in. So if you guys want to do that, anyway, what a night one was. A very, very solid show. We had good matches, and we finally got something. It took until like the main event to finally get to something buzzworthy, which I thought was pretty cool. We'll have to see how where we go from here. Does the events of Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, does that tie into night 2 and lead into what could happen at the main event tomorrow night, or do they not have anything to do with each other, and then we see Seth Rollins come out with Paul Heyman on Raw, which is probably what will happen, but don't be surprised if they continue on with Seth and Paul maybe being a distraction in the main event. We'll have to see. I know Triple H says that WrestleMania 41 is going to be very memorable, and I know if I know Triple H well enough, he wants to do something that's shocking. Well, could have that been tonight? Is that the shocking part that we were expecting? Maybe, maybe not. So we will have to see. Tomorrow night on night 2. It is now 12:30 in the morning. We're about to wrap this up. If you guys want to leave any comments, feel free. But tomorrow night we will be back approximately the same time, talking night 2, and hopefully we'll have some really buzzworthy stuff tomorrow night. Greg, before I start closing out the show, anything you want to throw in about WrestleMania that maybe we haven't covered?
Just one point. I wish him the best for Lex Luger because we didn't see him out there during the Hall of Fame.
That was interesting. Yes.
Yeah. So I know he said he fell yesterday. So wishing him the best. Maybe he didn't want the visual of him being out in the wheelchair. I'm not sure about that. The other takeaway is we didn't cover it. I don't have my notes with me, but if you get a chance, I highly recommend for those listening to go watch the NXT show from earlier today.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that Monday.
Better tag matches I've seen in a long time. With the Axiom and Frazier match. Women's match also was really good as well. So if you have some time tomorrow morning, looking forward to WrestleMania. Tired of talking to your family at Easter. I recommend hopping on and watching the NXT show.
So it's pretty funny. I get a message from my cousins today, and they're like, Wayne, if you come over for Easter dinner, if you want to bring over some drinks. I'm like, oh, okay, not a problem. Dinner's at 5. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like 5 o'clock. This is 2 hours away from WrestleMania. This is about an hour and 15, hour and a half before I need to settle down and get in my chair in front of my TV. So I told my cousins, I'm like, you know what? I have to be out of there like around 6:15. The dinner's at 5. I'm gonna come over a little earlier. How about that? Maybe like 2 hours earlier or so. Get to my cousin's house early, hang out for a while, eat, and then leave. So that's what I'm gonna do instead of just showing up at 5 and pulling the eat and run, because I'm not missing WrestleMania tomorrow.
One of the funny stories I heard about WrestleMania was this is the first year ever in 41 WrestleManias that WrestleMania ever falls on Easter. But there was a WrestleMania, I don't remember which number, that I heard a story about where it was booked for Easter, and about January or February, they realized it was on Easter, and Vince McMahon's reaction was, "Why did someone move Easter on the day that WrestleMania was?" Not that they booked WrestleMania on the day Easter was, and then they wound up moving the date a couple of months before WrestleMania back a couple of weeks. But interesting. I mean, this was Vegas's call. From what I've heard, is that Vegas Easter is a weekend that they struggle with. Obviously, Sin City and Easter might not be a common connection for people. But so that was Vegas's call. They wanted WrestleMania for this week to get the tourism in for WrestleMania week.
It definitely makes sense. I mean, there are definitely people that celebrate Easter in Vegas for sure, but I totally get it for 100%. That, and like another reason why WWE does these WrestleManias now kind of like towards mid-April. They don't want to do it the same week as NCAA Final Four. And then what are the other Masters? They kind of wanted to stay away from the Masters too as well. So like even if you look at like next year's WrestleMania, and then look up and see when the Masters is, and look up when Final Four is, more than likely, WWE WrestleMania once again does not interfere with that. So I think that's why they wanted to go with April WrestleManias, plus because of climate too as well. Especially when you go into like the Northeast. Like, I mean, last year's WrestleMania in Philly was cold. It was very cold, and we barely survived night one, and we made do pretty well in night two. But I think just because of like climate and staying away from doing events while the Masters and NCAA is going on, they don't want to conflict with that. But that being said, that's why WrestleMania is situated in April the way it is, and that makes total sense. If Vegas is struggling to get people to come on Easter weekend, and they find that Easter weekend's like a low tourism, historically, it makes sense to get WrestleMania in 100%. You're increasing, your traffic by 75 to 80,000 people, including, workers. We know the crowd was like 60,000, but including workers and volunteers and whatever, and, WWE talent, you figure 75 to 80,000.
My final point would be, I thought it was really cool, the fans sitting in on the, as far as the backdrop goes, that's the first that I've ever seen.
I wonder how much those tickets were.
I'm sure they were pretty expensive, but really cool to be in there. Intertwined. They're pretty good seats as well. Given where obviously you're probably not going to be able to see right below you, but you can see the ring pretty good. I think it was a pretty great design. WWE obviously always spares no expense. They already have the tickets sold, so I think it's what separates them from their competition is just the visual aspect of it. Hats off to him. Hats off to Triple H. Congratulations on the Hall of Fame induction.
Yes.
And obviously we'll see what happens tomorrow night.
Yeah, WWE always does a better production than any other, for sure. The way it comes off on TV, the production, the aesthetics, the fireworks. I mean, the other organization kind of needs a little bit of crowd noise pumped in. WWE doesn't really need as much crowd noise, maybe a little bit just to, kind of fill in the gaps. But the other organization needs a little bit of crowd noise piped in a little bit. And then, but they're trying. They're trying.
There was one mess up in the Gunther match from the mic where Gunther hit a power bomb on Jey Uso. I forgot to mention it. And there was no noise whatsoever. I don't know if you heard that spot, Wayne, but it was pretty interesting. Where I don't know if they didn't have the ring mic good for it, but he hit the power bomb and there was absolutely no sound whatsoever. It was the only time of the night, so they must have figured out that they didn't have that part of the mat mic'd well on it. Just an interesting spot.
That's very, very interesting. Oh, and did you notice that during the Seth Rollins match, did you have a quick blackout for like 2 seconds?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I think it's when like Seth Rollins was either cursing or giving a finger or something like that. Like I think that may have been intentional, but it was during like they were getting to the climax of the match, and then all of a sudden it blacks out. I'm like, no, like what is happening here? But anyway, also tomorrow night during WrestleMania, I'm gonna try to make reaction videos. It'll be a first time that I'll be doing that. Got myself a new mic. And an iPhone stand. So I'm going to try to do reaction videos for TikTok. So we'll see how well that goes. But tomorrow night is night 2. We are going to be here immediately following WrestleMania. I'll be watching WrestleMania from home, relaxing within the confines of my own room, and I cannot wait. Easter dinner ends at 6:15 sharp, and I'll be coming home. Thankfully, my family lives right around the corner. I'll be coming home, popping on the TV, getting ready for night 2, and getting ready for the cinema that is about to happen tomorrow night. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna get some newsworthy stuff tomorrow night too as well. Cannot wait. For those of you guys that are watching, feel free to please give us a like, share this out, text this to your wrestling buddies. Also, if you guys want to go back, we'll have the timestamps of everything that we talked about tonight. So if there's something that you want to listen to in particular, we'll have the timestamps of everything listed. We just want to thank you guys. And Greg, thank you so much for hopping on tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night. And for those of you guys that are watching, thank you so much. We'll be back on tomorrow night and a Monday night Raw review show, our first in over 6 months. Can't wait. And that will wrap up our 5-year anniversary weekend. But till tomorrow, catch you guys later.
Agility from the champion. Oh, deep six. That could be it. Delivered this deep